All right, let's get right into it. We need to talk about the devastating humanitarian crisis that's unfolding in Sudan. It's just escalated dramatically with the fall of the major city and now an official declaration of famine. In this explainer, we're going to break down what's happening on the ground right now. To really get the scale of this, you have to start with the human toll. This quote you're seeing, this is what people fleeing the city of al-Fashir are saying. It's just a scene of absolute horror, and it grounds us in the grim reality of this conflict before we even start looking at the numbers. And here's the bottom line, the fact at the very heart of this emergency. This isn't a warning anymore. It's not a prediction. Famine is happening now. That official classification means people are literally starving to death, and that widespread malnutrition, especially for kids, is a devastating reality.
So, what was the tipping point? What pushed this already terrible situation into an even deeper catastrophe? Well, it all centers on one city, al-Fashir. So, after a grueling, brutal 18-month siege, al-Fashir was captured by the RSF. And this wasn't just another battle, it was a massive turning point. For over a year, this city was the last army stronghold in the entire Darfur region. It was also a critical sanctuary for hundreds of thousands of civilians. So its fall had immediate, terrifying consequences for everyone trapped there.
To really understand how we got to this point, we need to quickly look at the two main groups at the center of this war. I mean, who exactly is fighting whom and why?
Okay, so on one side you have the Sudanese Armed Forces, the SAF. That's the country's official state military. On the other side, you've got the Rapid Support Forces, or RSF, which is a very powerful paramilitary group. Now, the wild part about this is that these two groups were actually allies not that long ago. The whole war exploded when they clashed over a plan to merge the RSF into the National Army, which really was a struggle for who would control the country.
And this timeline just lays out how quickly things spiraled out of control. The war kicks off in April 2023. By mid-2024, that brutal siege of al-Fashir is underway, and that brings us to the recent fall of the city, which has just completely changed the entire landscape of this war.
Now, let's shift gears and look at the impact this has had on millions of ordinary people. Let's really try to measure the scale of this nationwide emergency.
The numbers they're just staggering. In the immediate aftermath of al-Fashir's fall, more than 36,000 people were forced to flee their homes, and that's from just one area alone. It's a massive, sudden wave of human displacement on top of an already terrible situation.
But let's zoom out from that one region for a second. Across the entire country, an estimated 20 million people are facing what's called acute food insecurity. And that's a technical term, but what it means is simple. Their inability to get food has put their lives in immediate danger. This chart really puts that number into perspective. 20 million people. That's nearly half of Sudan's entire population. Think about that. Almost 1 out of every 2 people in the country is on the brink of starvation. The scale is almost impossible to imagine.
And this crisis goes so far beyond just hunger. We're seeing horrifying reports of mass killings, of sexual violence. And to make everything so much worse, getting help to the people who need it most is nearly impossible. Humanitarian aid isn't just restricted by the fighting, it's being cut off by deliberate blockades.
So why does the fall of one city in Sudan matter on the world stage? Well, because the implications of this conflict, the shockwaves, extend far, far beyond Sudan's borders.
The thing is, the fall of al-Fashir isn't just a symbolic victory. It's a huge strategic game-changer. With control of this city, the RSF now effectively controls every major urban center in the entire Darfur region, an area that's about the size of France. This solidifies their power and dramatically redraws the map of the war.
And this strategic shift comes with some absolutely grave fears. International observers are warning about the very real risk of mass atrocities. We're seeing more and more reports of ethnic targeting. There's clear evidence that starvation is being used as a weapon of war. And civilian infrastructure, hospitals, homes, they're under direct attack. These are all the hallmarks of the worst kinds of war crimes.
So, with the situation being this dire, what's being done about it? I mean, what does the international response even look like?
Well, global agencies are basically shouting from the rooftops, calling for ceasefires and for safe ways to get aid in. The International Criminal Court has taken the very serious step of opening investigations into these alleged war crimes. And on the ground, you have aid groups doing everything they possibly can. But like we've said, just getting access to people is their single biggest challenge.
And that leaves all of us with this final, incredibly urgent question. The facts are clear. The warnings have all been issued.
and millions of lives are just hanging in the balance. The challenge now is to move from simply understanding what's happened to finding a way to prevent an even greater catastrophe.